My sister had always looked down on my job and said I could never be like her successful husband. Years later, when his business collapsed, my parents demanded I sell everything I owned to bail him out. I am 32 male and I run a custom metal fabrication shop, which is apparently the most embarrassing thing a man can do according to my family. 5 years back, I got married to Elise under the big oak tree on my grandmother's land. We set it up the way we wanted. Hay bales for seats, wildflowers everywhere, a barbecue pit that had the whole clearing smelling incredible. My crew showed up in work boots. Elise's friends brought homemade desserts and wore sundresses. It was perfect. My family treated it like community service. Dad rolled up in his Mercedes, checking his watch every 5 minutes like he had somewhere better to be. Mom kept looking around with this pained expression, probably doing mental math on how much we had saved by not renting a country club. My sister Bianca showed up with Reed, her husband, both dressed like they were going to a Forbes gala. The ceremony went fine. My buddy Ben was my best man, and when the officiant did the speak now or forever hold your peace, Ben fake coughed and said, "Can we skip to the food part?" Got a good laugh. Then came the speeches. Ben went first, told a story about a steel shelf I had welded in college that collapsed and nearly took out our roommate. Everyone laughed. Then Reed got up. My brother-in-law had this look on his face, the same one he gets whenever he thinks he is smarter than everyone else in the room. He was 4 years older than me, and he had made sure everyone knew those years made all the difference. He had gone to business school, he worked in finance, he made real money, not metal shop hobby cash. To Wade and Elise, he started raising his glass. The crowd followed. Honestly, when Bianca told me her brother was getting married, I thought she was joking. I figured his one true relationship was with his welding torch. Some of his finance buddies laughed. My friends did not. But then, I met Elise. She is very earthy. He said it like describing someone who had not figured out how society worked. Makes sense. He works with metal. She works with plants. Match made in a hardware store. I felt Elise's grip tighten on my hand. She was smiling, but I could see the edge in her eyes. Reed was not done. I remember when Bianca and I first started dating, she would tell me stories about Wade spending hours building go-karts and random metal projects. Meanwhile, I was reading about market trends and managing my portfolio. Some of us were born to build empires, but society needs both, right? Someone has got to make the fixtures for the boardroom. More laughs from his side. My buddy Shane muttered something that would have started a fight if we were not at a wedding. Then Bianca stood up beside him. "I just want to add," she said, her voice dripping with that fake nice tone, "that I am so proud of my little brother for finding someone who appreciates his unique lifestyle. Elise, you are so brave for embracing this whole rustic living thing. I could never give up my weekly spa appointments and shopping trips, but I admire your commitment to simplicity." When Dad gave his speech, he might as well have been reading off a grocery list. He stood there in his $1,000 suit, looking around at the setup like it physically hurt him, and delivered what amounted to a speech about how disappointed he was in my choices. "Wade has always walked a different path," he said. "We wish him and Elise the best." That night, after everyone cleared out and it was just Elise and me cleaning up, she found me standing by the oak tree. "They are not worth it," she said quietly. "I know what we are building here. It is real, it matters. They are just too busy keeping score to see it." She was right. But standing there on what should have been the best night of my life, all I could think about was how my own family saw me as the guy who could not cut it, the failure who married down and settled for simple. I did not know it then, but that speech was going to look real stupid later. They thought they knew who I was. They had no idea. 3 years after the wedding, life had settled into a routine. I was running the shop full-time, doing custom metal fabrication that put decent money in the bank, enough that we were not worried about bills. I had landed contracts with a few commercial builders who wanted custom railings and architectural metalwork. The work was steady. What my family did not know was that I had been experimenting. For the past 6 years, going back to before I even met Elise, I had been working on something in the back corner of my shop. I had been trying to figure out a way to treat steel and aluminum at the molecular level to make it stronger, more corrosion, resistant, lighter weight, all without wrecking the environment. It started because I was tired of seeing outdoor metalwork rust out after a few years. I started reading materials, science journals, reaching out to metallurgy professors online, running tests in my spare time. Elise, who had a background in environmental chemistry, helped me understand the technical side. She would come home from her job at the conservation center and find me covered in metal shavings and chemical compounds trying to crack the code. After 4 years of failed experiments and ruined test pieces, I finally got it right. The formula worked. Metal treated with my process became way stronger and basically rust-proof while staying environmentally safe. I tested it every way I could think of. Left pieces outside through 2 winters, subjected them to salt spray tests, stress tested them to failure. The metal held up better than anything I had seen. So 2.5 years ago, I did something I did not tell anyone about except Elise. I filed for patents, 4 of them covering different aspects of the process and key applications. Then I set up an LLC, moved some assets around for legal protection, and started shopping the technology to manufacturers. I called the company Titan Coating Systems. Kept it quiet. I was not trying to hide it. I just did not want to hear my family's take while I was building something real. The first year, nothing happened. The second year, I got interest from a regional coatings manufacturer. By year 3, which was about 6 months before everything went down, I had licensing agreements with 2 solid companies, and the business was valued at around $3.8 million. From the guy who welded railings, the money from Titan Coating was tied up in business accounts being managed by people who understood corporate finance. Elise and I still drove our old trucks, still lived in the same house. Nothing changed on the outside. My family, meanwhile, was living their best social media life. Reed had quit his corporate job to start his own investment firm. He was all in on real estate development and getting in early on the next big thing, making aggressive plays while everyone else was being conservative. Dad talked about him like he had personally invented capitalism. Bianca had turned herself into a full-time influencer, posting constantly about luxury. Everything Reed was her star content, the brilliant young investor shaking things up. She had quit her job as an event planner the moment Reed's firm took off, deciding her new career was documenting their perfect life online. They had bought this massive house in an expensive neighborhood. Bianca posted about it constantly. The custom closet for her designer bags, the wine cellar Reed had installed, the home gym. We got invited to their housewarming party. I almost declined, but Elise convinced me to go. I spent a week fabricating them a coffee table custom steel frame with a tempered glass top, all TIG-welded joints that looked like art powder coated in matte black. I was proud of the piece. Bianca took one look at it and her smile went plastic. "Oh, thank you so much!" She set it down in the corner and immediately forgot about it. The whole night was just them showing off. Bianca dragged Elise around like a charity case, introducing her to her influencer friends with this pitying tone. "This is my sister-in-law, Elise. She works in conservation, very noble living on practically nothing to save the trees." The women would look Elise up and down, taking in her simple dress and practical shoes, then turn back to Bianca to talk about the new Chanel collection. Reed kept me cornered with his finance buddies most of the night. At one point, he patted my shoulder. "Good for you, man. Honest work. The world needs guys like you. Someone has got to make the stuff we put in our offices." The real moment came when we were all in the living room. Reed was going on about some massive deal he had closed, talking about vision and knowing which investments were the future and which were dying. Bianca was hanging on his arm, practically glowing. "My husband is just so brilliant with money. I honestly do not know how he does it. I just trust him completely and let him handle everything." She looked at Elise when she said it. Then Reed looked at me. "Speaking of old school, how is the metal shop Wade? Still making mailboxes for the neighbors?" Bianca giggled. "Oh, be nice to my little brother. He is doing his best." The room went quiet. Everyone stared. I had nothing for about 5 seconds, just that familiar feeling of being the family joke. Then Elise's voice cut through. "Better than gambling away other people's retirement funds." Dead silence. Reed's face went from smug to furious instantly. Bianca gasped, her hand flying to her chest like she had been physically struck. Mom shot Elise a look that could have killed. We left shortly after. On the drive home, my cousin Andrea called. She was the only sane one in the family, made her living as a teacher, and stayed out of the family drama. "That was intense," she said. "But between us, be careful. I have been hearing rumors. Reed is making some risky moves. Some of his deals are not looking so good." Her warning was vague, but it stuck with me. Driving away from that sterile mansion, I had this feeling that Reed was not building an empire. He was building a bomb, and it was about to go off. Another year passed. The gap between my family and me got wider. We stopped getting party invites, which was a relief. Holiday calls got shorter and more forced. Mom would text asking why we never visited, conveniently forgetting how the last visit went. At the shop, things were picking up speed. Titan Coating Systems had gone from a side project to something getting serious attention. I had brought on a part-time business manager, a guy named Nolan, who understood licensing agreements and patent law. We were in talks with another industrial manufacturer about using my coating process for their production lines. The valuation had climbed to $8.2 million. $8.2 million from a process I developed in the back of my metal shop. While my family thought I was making decorative gates, Elise had left her conservation job and was helping me full-time with the technical side of Titan Coating. She understood the chemistry better than I did, helped me refine the formulas, and made sure we were not cutting corners on environmental safety. We made a good team. Always had. Then, one afternoon in October, my phone rang. Andrea. She sounded scared. Wade, are you alone? I was in the shop. Yeah, what is wrong? It is Reed. He is in serious trouble, like potentially criminal trouble. I shut off my grinder. What happened? I was at your parents' last night. They thought I was busy, but I could hear them on the phone with Bianca. Wade Reed has lost everything. Not just his money, his clients' money. There is talk about lawsuits and fraud charges. My stomach dropped. How bad? Millions. He convinced a bunch of people to invest with him, friends of your dad's old college buddies, even some of Bianca's family. He took all their money and made some massive bet that went sideways. The development deal was fake, or the land was contaminated or something. I do not know all the details, but he is completely underwater. I thought about all those speeches at parties, all that talk about vision, and knowing winners from losers. Why are you calling me? Andrea's voice dropped. Because they are coming for you. I heard your dad say it clearly. He said you are the only one with real assets. He was talking about Grandma's land, the shop. He said, you owe it to the family. The nerve of it hit me like a punch. For years they had treated my work like a hobby, my life like a consolation prize. Now that their golden son-in-law had crashed and burned suddenly, what I had built was valuable. Suddenly it was the family's safety net. He cannot be serious. He is completely serious. Mom is a wreck. She keeps saying Reed made one mistake and the family has to stick together. Bianca is apparently having a complete breakdown. They see you as the only way out. I heard Mom's voice in the background calling for Andrea. I have to go. Just be ready. They are coming soon. The line went dead. That evening I told Elise everything. We were on the porch watching the sun go down over the property. So they are going to show up here, I said. Probably with lawyers, and demand I sell everything to fix Reed's mess. Elise was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that caught me off guard. I think we need to have a conversation before they get here. About what? About Titan Coating, about the patent portfolio, about why Reed's situation is more complicated than you know. I looked at her. What are you talking about? I have been helping Nolan track the industry, keeping tabs on who is moving in the coatings and materials space, who is making plays, who is betting against emerging technologies. She pulled out her phone and opened a file. Reed has been running a hedge fund for the past 18 months. Did you know that a hedge fund? I thought he did development deals. That is what he told everyone. But he has been shorting stocks, making bets against companies he thinks will fail. She turned her phone to show me a financial document. Want to guess what his biggest position is? I looked at the screen, saw Reed's fund name, saw a list of holdings, and right there at the top, highlighted in red, was the single largest bet. He had made a massive short position against Titan Coating Systems, my company. Reed had bet well over $1 million, including his client's money, that my company would fail. He was so convinced that his simple metal fabricator brother-in-law could not possibly have built something real that he had staked everything on my failure. And when Titan Coating succeeded, his entire position had blown up. He destroyed himself betting against me, I said slowly. Yup. And now he is coming here to demand you sacrifice everything to save him from the consequences. Elise's voice was ice cold. The universe is funny like that. I sat there processing it. Reed, who had spent years looking down on me, had literally gambled his future on me being a failure and lost. Does he know I own Titan Coating? I doubt it. The company is registered under my maiden name as the primary contact for privacy. To him, Titan Coating is just another overhyped materials tech startup run by people he has never heard of. He has no idea his failure of a brother-in-law is the one who destroyed him. We sat in silence watching the last light fade. The legal threat arrived 4 days later. A courier delivered it to our door fancy envelope with a law firm's logo I had never heard of. Inside was a letter. Given the family emergency and my moral obligation, I was expected to cooperate in selling my property to resolve Reed's financial situation. I had 1 week. After that, they would pursue all legal options to force a sale. They are threatening to sue you, Elise said, reading it to force you to sell your own home. Can they even do that? No, but they are hoping you do not know that. She was already on her phone. I am calling our lawyer. We had retained a guy named Adrian 6 months back when Titan Coating started getting serious. He specialized in business law and intellectual property, but he knew his way around property disputes too. We met him at his office the next morning. We laid out everything, the family history, the threatening letter, and the kicker about Titan Coating systems. When we got to the part about Reed shorting my company, Adrian laughed. Let me make sure I understand, he said. They believe you are a struggling fabricator with some family land. But in reality, you own an $8 million coatings technology company that your brother-in-law bet against. And when your company succeeded, he lost everything. And now they want you to sell the land that is actually a corporate asset to bail out the guy who tried to profit from your failure. Yep. Adrian leaned back, shaking his head with a grin. This is incredible. It is like watching someone punch themselves in the face and blame you for their broken nose. He explained that their legal threats were garbage. The land had been transferred to Titan Coating's corporate structure 2 years ago for liability protection. I could not sell it even if I wanted to. Any judge would laugh their case out of court in about 30 seconds. So what do we do? I asked. Nothing. Let them make the next move. When that deadline passes, they will not file a lawsuit because any lawyer worth their license will tell them it is hopeless. They will come in person, and when they do, I want to be there. Why? Because I would not miss this for anything. The deadline came and went. Friday passed with no word. Saturday and Sunday were quiet. I almost thought they had given up. Monday morning proved me wrong. I was in the shop setting up a program on my CNC mill when I saw the cars, 3 of them, coming down the long driveway. Dad's Mercedes, Reed's Lexus, which looked less impressive than it used to, and a third car I did not recognize. I shut down the machine, walked to the house, and found Elise at the window phone already out. They are here. I see them. She hit a button. Adrian, it is time. Short pause. Perfect. See you soon. She hung up, looked at me. Our lawyer will be here in 20. Until then, we listen. Let them talk. The car stopped. Doors opened. Dad got out first, looking 10 years older than I remembered. Mom followed, eyes red like she had been crying the whole drive. Bianca stepped out and she looked wrecked. Reed followed, looking worse, lost weight, dark circles under his eyes. The third car produced a man in an expensive suit with a briefcase, their lawyer probably. They did not knock. Dad just opened the shop door and walked in like he owned the place. Everyone followed. I was standing by my main workbench, Elise beside me. We did not move. Wade, Dad's voice was strained. We need to talk. Seems like you drove a long way for a conversation we already had. The situation is critical. He was trying to sound authoritative, but it came out desperate. Reed is facing multiple lawsuits. Criminal charges are being discussed. We need to act immediately. He pulled out a folder and dropped it on my workbench. Everything you need is here. Purchase agreement. We found a developer willing to buy the property. The money goes straight into escrow to settle Reed's obligations. It is clean, and it saves the family. Saves the family, I repeated. You mean saves him? Bianca stepped forward, and for the first time in years, she was not acting superior. She was begging. Wade, please. He is your brother-in-law. He is family. He made a mistake, but you cannot let him go to prison. Please. I am asking you as your sister. He did not make a mistake. He made a series of choices, bad ones. Their lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Blake, you have a clear familial obligation here. The precedent for property transfers in family emergencies is well established. Is it? I said. Interesting, because my understanding is you cannot sell something you do not own. The lawyer frowned. The property is deeded to you through your grandmother's estate. The title is clear. Was deeded to me. Past tense. Dad's face was turning red. What are you talking about? Stop playing games. We have already sold our house. It was not enough. This land is the only option. After everything we have done for you, Mom added, voice breaking. After we raised you, you owe us this. I looked at Elise. She gave me a small nod. Time to end this. Elise stepped forward. I think there has been a significant misunderstanding, she said, her voice calm and cutting. You have made several incorrect assumptions. Dad turned to her confused. What are you talking about? You looked at us and saw exactly what you wanted to see. A simple fabricator and his wife poor easy to push around. She walked slowly to the workbench, putting her hand on the folder they had brought. You were wrong about all of it. Their lawyer shifted. Mrs. Blake. I do not think it is stone. I kept my name. She looked at him directly. And as a lawyer, I am sure you understand property law. You cannot sell what you do not own. The deed is in Wade's name, the lawyer insisted. Was in Wade's name, Elise corrected. 2 years ago, this property was transferred to Titan Coating Systems LLC as a corporate asset. Wade is the founder and majority owner of that company, which means legally this land belongs to his corporation, and he is definitely not selling. Dead silence. Dad's mouth opened. Mom looked confused. Their lawyer's face went from confident to worried. But Reed had gone completely white. He was staring at me now, really looking at me for the first time in years, and I could see the wheels turning in his head. Titan Coating Systems, he said quietly. His voice sounded hollow. That is right, I said. Heard of it. That is not. You are a metal fabricator. I am a fabricator. I agreed. I am also the founder of a coatings technology company that is currently valued at over $8 million. But you knew that already, did you not? Reed Bianca was looking between us, mascara streaked. What is he talking about? Reed, what is going on? What is he talking about, Dad? Demanded, looking at Reed. I walked over to my workbench, opened a drawer, and pulled out a file. I had it ready for days, knowing this moment would come. Inside were financial documents, patent filings, and one particularly interesting quarterly report. About 6 years ago, I said I started working on a chemical coating process for metal. Took me 4 years to crack it. Filed patents, started a company, operated quiet, built something real while you all assumed I was making garden gates. I pulled out one specific document and held it up. This is a financial filing from your hedge fund, Reed Public Record. Shows all your major positions. Want to guess what your biggest bet was? He did not answer. Could not answer. You shorted Titan Coating Systems. Put well over $1 million into it, your client's money. You were so convinced it was an overhyped materials tech scam that you bet everything on it failing. I set the paper down. When it did not fail, when it succeeded, your entire position blew up. You lost everything because you bet against me. Dead silence. Bianca's legs gave out. She collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. No, you could not have known it was his company. Of course he did not know, Elise said. We registered the company under my maiden name for privacy. To him, Titan Coating was just another startup to short. Dad finally found his voice. This is impossible. You are lying. You do not have that kind of money. You live in this simple country house. I finished. Yeah. Because unlike you, I do not need to advertise my success. I do not need a mansion to prove I am worth something. I built a company that creates value instead of just moving money around. Reed was shaking. Bianca was wailing now, full hysterics. This cannot be happening. You were supposed to be the one who needed us. Just then, another car pulled up outside. Adrian, our lawyer, right on time. He walked in, took one look at the scene, and grinned. Am I late? He asked. Perfect timing, Elise said. He set down his briefcase and pulled out his own file. For the record, I am Adrian, representing Wade Blake and Titan Coating Systems. I have reviewed the materials your firm sent. He looked at their lawyer. You are Brian from Preston and Moore, correct? Their lawyer nodded weakly. Good. Then I can tell you directly that your demand letter is legally worthless. Any attempt to force a sale would be dismissed immediately, and given the circumstances, I would probably file a harassment suit on top of it. He said it casually. Furthermore, Adrian continued pulling out another document. I have done some digging into Mr. Reed's financial situation. The short position against Titan Coating Systems was not just bad judgment. There is evidence of misrepresentation to investors telling them the short was based on insider information when it was actually just a hunch. That is securities fraud. Reed made a sound like he had been punched. I have not turned this over to the SEC yet, Adrian said. I wanted to give you all a chance to walk away quietly first. Their lawyer was already packing his briefcase. He headed for the door without another word. Mom started crying. How could you do this to us? We are your family. Family does not spend 30 years making you feel worthless. Family does not bet against your success and then demand you destroy yourself to save them from their own stupidity. I walked to the door. Get out of my shop. Get out of my life. None of them moved at first. I think they could not process that I was serious. Now, I said. Bianca was still on the floor sobbing. Reed had to physically lift her up. Dad tried one last time. Son, you do not understand what you are doing. The consequences are yours to deal with. They shuffled out looking defeated. The cars started, then they were gone. I stood there and felt something I had not felt in 30 years. Freedom. The next few weeks were quiet. No angry calls, no desperate texts, just silence. Adrian kept me updated on the legal situation. Reed was drowning in lawsuits. 3 of his major investors had filed civil suits. Those lawsuits triggered SEC attention, and the commission had opened an investigation into his trading practices. His marriage to Bianca was hanging by a thread. They had moved into a small apartment on the bad side of town. Bianca had deleted all her social media accounts. Dad and Mom had sold their house at a loss and were renting a small condo somewhere. Dad had gone back to his old firm in a consulting position, basically a pity job from his former partner. Mom apparently spent most of her days crying and asking why I was doing this to them. In their minds, I was the villain, the ungrateful son who had abandoned his family when they needed him. Meanwhile, Titan Coating was taking off. We had signed another licensing deal. A regional aerospace parts manufacturer wanted to test our process for their components. Another company was applying it to automotive parts. I hired 2 full-time employees to help manage things, built a proper office space in the barn, started having business meetings with people who took me seriously. The custom fabrication work slowed down. I kept a few regular clients, did projects I wanted to do, but mostly I was focused on Titan Coating. Elise was thriving. She had always been good at the chemistry side, and now she was running R&D full-time. We were developing new applications, filing more patents, building something that could outlast both of us. We were happy. Not having my family's constant judgment made it even better. Then one Saturday afternoon, about 6 weeks after the confrontation, I saw a familiar car coming down the driveway, Andrea's sedan. I walked out to meet her. She got out looking nervous, holding a casserole dish. Brought you some lasagna, she said. We eat pretty well, I said, but I was smiling. Come on in. We sat on the porch. We made small talk for a while before she got to the real reason she had come. Bianca and Reed's marriage is basically over, she said. They are staying together for now because they cannot afford lawyers, but she resents him completely, blames him for everything. I heard your parents are barely holding it together. Dad works all the time. Mom just sits at home. They do not talk about you, but I know they think about you constantly. And Reed. Andrea was quiet for a moment. He is broken, Wade. I mean really broken. He knows he destroyed himself because he was too arrogant to see what you built. Good, I said, and I meant it. They want to apologize, Andrea said quietly. Eventually, when enough time has passed, they think maybe if they give you space, you will come around. I will not. I know. I told them that. They do not believe me. She stood up. I am not asking you to forgive them. I am not even asking you to talk to them. I just wanted you to know that they are suffering, whether that matters to you or not. It does not, I said honestly. I spent 30 years being treated like I was not worth their time. They spent 5 years making Elise feel like she was not good enough. They came here trying to take everything I had built. I am not going to lose sleep over their consequences. Andrea nodded. Fair enough. She headed for her car, then turned back. For what it is worth, I am proud of you. What you built with Titan Coating standing up to them, it took guts. Thanks, Andrea. And I would like to keep seeing you if that is okay. I know I am part of the family that screwed you over, but you are the only one who did not. I interrupted. You are welcome here anytime. She smiled, relieved, and drove off. That night, Elise and I sat on the porch swing. Andrea stopped by, I said. I saw. How is the family disaster going? About how you would expect. Reed is destroyed. Bianca is a wreck. Parents are barely functioning. They all think I am going to forgive them eventually. Are you? I thought about it. No, I am not angry anymore. I am just done. Then my phone buzzed. Email notification. I glanced at it, and my jaw dropped. What Elise asked. Titan Coating just got an acquisition offer. From who? Major Industrial Coatings Corporation. They want to buy us out. I read the number twice to make sure I was not hallucinating. $22 million. Elise went very still. $22 million. Are you serious? That is insane. What do you want to do? I looked around at the property, the shop where I had welded my first project, the house where we had built our life, the land my grandmother had trusted me with. I want to think about it, I said. But I am not making any decisions based on what they would think. Their opinion does not matter anymore. We sat there for a long time. Somewhere out there, they were probably telling each other that I would come around eventually, that family was family, and blood was blood. They were wrong. 3 months later, I was sitting in a conference room in the city surrounded by lawyers and business types signing the final papers. We decided to take the acquisition deal, $22 million, with the condition that I would stay on for 3 years as head of R&D to keep developing new applications. The money hit my account the next day. I stared at the number on my phone for a solid 5 minutes. Life-changing money. Never worry again money. More than my father had made in his entire career. I had made it in a metal shop he had called a hobby. The first thing I did was pay off the property completely. No mortgages, no liens, nothing. The land my grandmother left me was mine, free and clear forever. Then I set up a trust to maintain it. Nobody could touch it now. Not family, not creditors, not anyone. The second thing was a donation to the conservation center where Elise used to work. They were doing real work helping the environment instead of just talking about it. After that, I put most of it into investments that would generate income without requiring me to think about it. I kept the shop, kept taking projects I wanted to do, kept living the same life just without the pressure. The messages started coming in. Distant relatives I had not heard from in years. Old acquaintances from high school. Everyone suddenly wanted to reconnect. Everyone had always believed in me. Everyone was so proud. I ignored most of them. The ones who mattered already knew where to find me. My parents did not reach out, at least not directly. But Andrea told me they had heard the news. Mom had cried for hours. Bianca had locked herself in the bathroom for an entire afternoon. I was in the shop one afternoon working on a custom staircase railing when I heard a car outside expensive engine. I looked up and saw my father's Mercedes. He had come alone. I considered not answering, but I walked out. Dad was standing by his car looking wrecked. The past few months had aged him. Wade, he said. Silence stretched out between us. He looked around at the property, at the shop, at everything he had spent years dismissing. I made a mistake, he said finally. Many mistakes. I did not respond. I thought I knew what success looked like. He continued. I thought I was pushing you towards something better. I thought Reed was the one who had it figured out, that Bianca married the right kind of man. He laughed, but it was bitter. I was wrong about everything. Yeah, you were. I am not asking for forgiveness, he said. I do not deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what you built, what you were always building, and I am sorry I did not see it sooner. I appreciate you saying that I told him, but it does not change anything. You did not just make mistakes, Dad. You spent my entire life making me feel worthless. You chose Bianca and Reed over me every single time. You let them mock my wife at our wedding. You came here trying to take everything I built to save him from his own stupidity. I know. You do not get to apologize now that it turned out I was successful. You do not get to be proud of me now that there is money involved. That is not how it works. His face crumbled. What can I do? Nothing. Just never bother me again. Wade, you need to leave. He stood there for another moment looking like he wanted to say more. But what was there to say? He got back in his Mercedes and drove away. I watched him go, and I felt nothing. I had spent 30 years trying to earn their approval, trying to prove I was worth something. I was done trying. I had created something that would outlast all of us. I had proven everything I needed to prove, not to them, to myself. My grandmother had left me this land trusting I would do something meaningful with it. She had been right to trust me. I had taken her gift and turned it into something nobody expected, something real. I had chosen my path, built my life, played my own game by my own rules, and I had won.